Module 1 is all about why we want to become plant-based, why we want to change from our current meat and dairy-based diet. This module is about why we would want to do such a drastic, extreme thing. And in this session, we're going to talk about the most important reason of all, and that is the animals. You know, when I first started on this journey, I did it for health reasons. My initial reasons for wanting to become plant was definitely for health. But over the years, I'm actually now far more motivated because of the animals, because of the cruelty that we're inflicting on animals. And I think the reason I didn't want to make a change earlier in my life was that because, like so many of us, I just decided to put it away into a little corner of my mind, not think about it too much, enjoy the taste of meat, enjoy the taste of dairy, and not really think about what I was doing. I mean, after all, everybody else eats meat and dairy, don't they? So this is obviously what we were meant to do. It's obviously a normal thing. It's part of being human. It's where we get our protein. We're carnivores because we've got these teeth. There are all sorts of things, lies that we tell ourselves to justify the fact that we are basically going against our own conscience, against our own being. Deep down inside of us, we're all compassionate. I say all of us. I would say the vast majority, 99.9% of us are inside, we're compassionate people. If we see somebody beating a dog down the street, or if you're walking along and somebody's taking a club to an animal, you would be horrified and you would want to stop that cruelty. You know, on my Facebook page, I have lots of friends from years ago, and they one of my friends posts something like, I'm against animal cruelty, share if you agree. And yet just below there's another post with a big picture of bacon saying, the best food ever. So there's a lot of cognitive dissonance. We tell ourselves lies, and I know I certainly did. One of the great things about moving to a plant-based diet is that we come into alignment with our own being, compassionate sense of who we are. I didn't realize that at the time, actually, but it was quite a revelation for me. In fact, I remember somebody asking me, "Oh, Alan, you've been on a plant-based diet for a while now. What changes have you noticed?" And I'd not really thought about the question until I got asked that, and I thought about it, and I suddenly realized that I was calmer than I used to be. I had a sense of calmness. And surely that's got something to do with the fact that I wasn't eating the meat, eating the violence. I know that might sound a little bit woohoo, but I'm from Sheffield in the north of England. We don't believe in that kind of stuff there. It's a spade's a spade. But actually, no, I believe that when we eat the meat, we do ingest a part of the violence, a part of the horror, and a part of the injustice that's been inflicted upon those animals. We've all had this right from the beginning. At home, I used to have our family, we've always had a Labrador. We are a family of animal lovers, as so many of us are, aren't we? We're all animal lovers. Either you've got a cat or a dog. And I used to remember, even as a kid, I used to look into the eyes of the door, and I loved our dog. And we used to take her for a walk 2-3 times a day, and it was an enjoyable part actually of growing up. No matter what the weather, we would go out for a walk with the dog. And yet I would return home and eat a piece of meat that had been put on my plate in front of me by my dear mother, and not think twice that it was an animal that was on my plate that I was eating. And back then in the 70s and 80s, people didn't tend to eat as much meat as they do now. I mean, now many people eat meat for breakfast, lunch, dinner, it's everywhere. Cheap meat has become persuasive and pervasive, sorry, and you know, it's just such a horrific thing, and we don't realize, you know, if you think of something as, okay, so, you know, we bury our heads in the sand, and it's because of our culture. We're told from being small that it's normal to eat meat. First of all, it's perhaps is normal, but there's absolutely no need for us to do it in this day and age. And I think if we went back in time, we would probably find that our ancestors actually ate a tiny little bit of meat, not a lot. Our own bodies came what our diet is supposed to be. We have a large digestive tract, which is only found in herbivores and frugivores. So physiologically, we are actually meant to be eating plants and fruits and not animals. Meat takes a long time to digest in the body, whereas vegetables flow straight through and help our digestion. But I want to really talk about the injustice that we're doing to animals, because if we just take one example of dairy cows, I had no idea, and I think most of us don't really understand I mean, apart from the fact that they're slaughtered. But a dairy cow, I think a lot of us have got this idea of happy cows wandering the fields, eating grass all day and gladly giving us their milk in return for us looking after them. That was the idea that I had. When we go into supermarkets, we see this packaging and there's these happy cows wandering around looking happy, you know, yeah, milk. The truth of it is actually quite horrific. You know, to produce milk, a cow first has to become pregnant. So how is that done? Well, we use artificial insemination. So effectively, we insert our hands into the cow and inseminate the cow so she becomes pregnant. Then the horrors really begin. The cow gives birth to her calf. Like all mothers, there's a strong bond between mother and calf. Farmers let the calf stay with their mothers for the day or two, not because of compassion often, but simply because during that time, important elements in the mother's milk are given to the calf to help them survive. But after just 1 or 2 days, the calves are removed from their mothers, and typically they cry. Not only the mothers, but the calves cry. They cry to be together. And then the mother cow goes into this horrific cycle of she will then be milked, so she'll be fed. These cows are already bred to produce the maximum amount of milk. You know, they're not really natural creatures anymore. We bred them to just produce milk. So they have these huge udders, but sometimes can be very painful. I know we used to know a vet in Germany who used to tell me how much pain these cows used to feel. So we let these cows into the fields, or we feed them just feed. I mean, that's how the whole mad cow disease came about, because we weren't actually feeding the cows grass anymore. We were feeding them a mixture of hay and ground up sheep. But the cows then go out and they produce the milk. We milk them day after day after day, and after a while the cows stop producing milk again, because the milk production is only available for a certain time for the calf. So the whole cycle begins again. The cow is inseminated again, the calf is born, the calf is removed. The calves that are removed, if they're a male calf, they'll either be slaughtered or sent off for veal production. And if it's a female calf, she'll be put into the same horrific cycle of death and torture that her mother is going. And that's why it's important that we don't just stop eating meat. Going on a plant-based diet is very much for the animals, because as long as we drink, and as long as we eat the products that contain dairy, and milk products, and any products from an animal, as long as we're paying money, as long as we're casting our vote, nothing will change. So it's important. It's not just about not eating meat for the animals. It's very much also about dairy. The egg industry is also horrific. There's a video later in this course, I think it's in the objection section, about eating free range, and I explain how, you know, this lie about free range eggs, and it's all a marketing ploy to make us feel good. You know, in the egg production, I bet you didn't know, I know I certainly didn't, that all male chicks are slaughtered. Typically, they're just thrown into a shredding machine. So imagine you've just been born and then you're just thrown into a grinder. These are the horrors that we inflict on animals so that we can have a fleeting taste pleasure. We have to start connecting more to who we are. If these things were going on in front of our eyes, we would not accept it. If every time we ate an egg, we saw a male chick being thrown into a grinder, people would not accept it. We would be horrified and we would demand that something changed. But it's hidden from us. It's always been hidden from us. It's hidden from us in nice packaging, handy. Oh, here's a nice, some nice free-range eggs. Oh, look, there are the happy hens on front of the packaging. It's lies, you know. The male chicks have been thrown into a grinder. The females, the chickens have lived a life cooped up together, full of disease and excrement, and it's, you know, it's really horrific. So, actually, in the next session, there's what I've done is I've listed a lot of resources for informing ourselves about the cruelty that's actually inflicted on animals. Some of them are very difficult to watch, and I'm going to put my hand on my heart and admit that I've not even been able to watch them all myself. However, there is one that I do recommend you watch, and that's The Greatest Speech Ever from Gary Yourofsky. It's just powerful. He says it as it is. There are parts in the film that are a little bit graphic, but maybe you could skip those parts. Just listen to him speak, because he is a master of explaining what we're doing to the animals and why it's absolutely no longer acceptable. And I'm so pleased that you're here on this. I wanted to make this perhaps the second. So module 1 is the reasons for going vegan, and with the animals, for our health, and for the environment. And initially I wanted to make for our health the first session, because I know the majority of people, just like I did, originally want to go plant-based for their health. But actually, we're doing it more it's as much for the animals as it is for ourselves. And I wanted to make this first because I feel now strong that we've been abusing animals. I know I have, and we want to do something to help change the world. And you're on this course now, and that means that you want to make a change in your own life, but also you'll be contributing to a less violent world, a world where animals' lives matter, where we don't just use animals as a commodity. And, you know, animals want to live just like us. They don't want to die. They want to enjoy a life in their own way. These are sentient beings that we should care for, and I'm really pleased that you're thinking of doing this move to a plant-based diet. And I hope my little introduction to this has given you at least a little bit of an insight into why we should be concerned about the animals. Like I say, the real meat, if you'll excuse the pun, of this session is found in session 2. There are some films. Like I say, I really recommend watching the speech by Gary Yourofsky. Even if you think you can't face the truths, that is a speech you can watch. Like I say, the parts, if you think they're really too graphic, don't watch them. And if you can stomach such things, go ahead and watch them, because it probably will give you all the motivation you'll ever need. And it's like a lot of things. Once you know something, you can't unknow it. So one of the most powerful things you can do to help you also stick to this new lifestyle that you want to adopt for yourself, which is absolutely brilliant, by the way, is to perhaps look at some of these more graphic films, and it will make you more convinced that you're on the right track and doing the right thing and being a good person and making a principled stance for who you want to be, more in line with your compassionate self. So I hope that I've made sense this morning. Welcome to the course. We're going to go plant-based. I've been plant-based for 5 years. At the end of this, you're going to feel so much better about yourself. You're going to look at the world with different eyes. You're going to be more open-minded. You're going to be more compassionate. And at the end of the day, you're also going to be more healthy and also taking care of the planet as well. So let's go plant-based, and let's do it not only for ourselves, but for the animals. It's time that we started caring. I hope you've enjoyed this morning. Thank you very much for being there, and I look forward to seeing you to the introduction to session 2. So thank you, and have a nice day. Bye bye.